welcome to the FlyDog FlyTalk podcast. I guess it's our inaugural episode, guys. So this may or may not air. No one may listen to it ever. So my name is Hunter West. I am, I guess, one of the guys at FlyDog Productions. We're sitting around having breakfast on a Saturday morning with Blake Emerson, Austin Lott, Tyler Sylvie, and Joey Anderson, all guys who are part of our production team and who we have fun making movies with. So say hi, guys.
Hey.
So what we hope this podcast is kind of a look behind the scenes into some of our productions, and then of course, since we're movie and TV junkies and just pop culture junkies altogether, we'll probably talk about some of those things. Sound like a plan?
Yeah. Sounds great.
Blake has a question.
I think it'd be a good idea to get our names tied with our voices, just for those who might not know us.
So if people want to know who Blake Emerson is, they can identify. Yeah. So Blake, tell us a little bit about yourself.
All right. So I am the special effects guru for FlyDog Productions.
You're a guru now?
Yeah. I upgraded.
Change the website.
Yeah.
Right. Among the people at this table, I know the least about what's going on, but I enjoy being here. It's fascinating to me. But I like to spend my time in After Effects and trying to make what we do look awesome.
Oh, I'm the voice you heard before. I'm Austin Lott, sort of the writer, sort of the handyman, grip man. Not really, more the writer.
Who else writes?
Hunter does a lot of revisions.
And sometimes semi-producer. All around good guy. 10 out of 10.
Good guy.
The Swiss Army knife of
Yes.
movie crew.
Yeah.
I can get behind that.
All right, we'll skip Tyler, Joey. I'm kidding. Go
That's all
ahead.
you need to know about me.
Skip him.
Yeah,
Tyler.
I can be overlooked.
Tyler will skip himself.
Well, that's a great middle name. It's better than Andrew, I guess.
Yeah.
But I'm Tyler Sylvie. I do a bunch of different things. But probably the biggest part I have is post-production editing. I enjoy it, learn a lot doing it. Yeah, it's fun. I'm not as all around a guy as Austin is, but I'm pretty chippy.
Sorry, ladies, he's taken.
I am taken. Today's actually my 2-year anniversary.
Congratulations.
Yeah, very congratulations, yeah.
Going to the zoo after this.
The Memphis Zoo?
Yeah.
I love that
driving
place.
to Little Rock.
For a subpar zoo.
Yeah.
We do like the state of Arkansas, though, just in case anybody is actually listening. We're fans of the state of Arkansas.
The Little Rock Zoo's gotten better.
Yeah.
My mom told me.
Never actually been myself.
I'm Joey Anderson. I do audio stuff mainly. And then that's pretty much all I do. And I make jokes at inappropriate times.
So this is going to be a great podcast. The most interesting and informative podcast you've ever heard. So I thought, guys, we'd talk a little bit today just kind of as an introduction. We all got into movies for different reasons, but I'll probably say that one of the main reasons we got into movies is we like watching movies. And so I'll throw this out there. We can just kind of talk about it. What is probably the movie that you saw whenever it was that just triggered in your mind that you wanted to make movies? Doesn't have to be your favorite movie. You could have been like, that thing was a pile of doo-doo, but I could do better.
That's a great inspiration.
The one that probably made me look into movies from a outside of just a entertainment thing was probably Raiders. It is one of my favorite movies.
I mean, Raiders of the Lost Ark. Oh.
Not the Oakland Raiders. That's a pile of doo-doo that you could do better.
They made me hate football so much that I decided to make movies. No, Raiders of the Lost Ark. Because it was one of the first movies, I watched it at the right time when I was young to realize that this is a movie, but it was so entertaining that I forgot it was a movie. And so I wanted to know how that was made, if that makes sense. And then probably after that, I'll probably say it too much, but probably Clerks, just because
Kevin Smith.
well done, in my opinion, but it was done. It was done. It was a movie that was made.
Makes me
And
feel like I can get something done.
yeah,
Not done well, just done.
just done.
I mean, Harrison Ford's funny in it. I mean, I know there's lots of things about that.
Don't spoil it for me, okay?
It's only been out, what, 30 years?
Probably the fact that it grabs you at the very beginning. And I feel weird talking about it because I'm sure we talked about a whole bunch about way smarter people. But it just is a movie that as soon as you drop into it mid-story, I feel like. And that's probably one of the first movies I saw that did that, where it wasn't, the build-up was later, or the setup was later, and you kind of got dropped into it. I think from the get-go, you're watching it, and...
Did you say the gecko?
Gecko. From the beginning, it just pulls you along.
Well, with my movie, it may be a little unorthodox because it's not necessarily the best. But just a little backstory with my cousins and I, we've always been interested in making videos. So I've been a part of it forever, and they were never the best, but we had a lot of fun doing it. Probably the biggest movie that I've definitely watched the most and have wondered how to do that, and I want to do that, is Scott Pilgrim versus the World.
It's a great movie.
I enjoy it.
And it's just a very different movie in just what it is. I mean, it's a comic book taking the life of a very different comic book, where they infuse video game details. And in the movie, they incorporate in the real world. And so just being the nerd that I am, I just enjoy that aspect of it a lot. But there's a lot of really cool editing things that they did in the movie. Probably more lines with special effects and different ways that they transitioned in the scenes.
The 8-bit opening is still my favorite thing ever.
Yeah.
I actually just watched that movie like 2 weeks ago, and one of the things I noticed was all the transitions. Like there's one scene in particular where they're at band practice, and the guy walks behind him, and as he walks behind him, they're out in the street, and like I watched it like 4 times, and there's no way that, I don't know how they cut it so perfectly where it's just, you have the same feeling of lost time that like the character does in the movie, where you're like, how did we get out here? And like he even says it, and it's kind of self-referential, which makes me laugh.
And I can remember very vividly, I think it was my freshman year of college when I first saw it. And I was at my cousin's house, and I just remember sitting there going, holy cow, this thing is awesome. And ever since then, like, it's probably the most watched movie off my movie shelf, and it's just very entertaining. I'm very much inspired to make something like that where people can talk about it after 4 years of seeing it like I have, whether or not it's the genre that everyone's interested in. I want to do something like that.
I think I told you this, but that movie makes me cinematically bi-curious.
Okay, explain that.
And by what I mean is, I had to watch it 3 or 4 times before I realized that I loved it. The first time I watched it, I did not like it at all.
So you're just kind of experimenting in college.
Yes, that was my experimenting phase. Everyone goes through it.
I remember when it came out, there was a lot of debate over it versus its comic counterpart, because it was a very unique comic. I mean, it wasn't like other comics, and it made a lot of references to itself.
Did you read it?
I have not read it.
I have the first couple of books.
I'm sorry, guys. I just got a lemon cream donut. They really did put the worst donuts in this box.
Oh, I'm sorry.
They're not going to be a sponsor.
Don't change the name.
I'm not saying So I just asked them for a mix, so we got like coconut and lemon cream.
So their first name rhymes with what kind of donuts they are.
That's true. Now who gets the joke? Everyone at home will not get it.
We'll cut
This
that
one
out.
is for us.
All right, Chick-fil-A next week.
Yes.
Anyway,
All right,
got
going
great
back to
donuts.
the comic controversy.
the comics is very
The comics are.
those comics are very
So Joey.
different, and a lot of times the music selection in the movie is based on the music selection in the book, which seems weird. But like they'll have, I don't know what the comic term is,
Text box.
a text box of like the lyrics that would play, and you would know what they are.
But you're a big Edgar Wright fan in the first place, and you didn't like it the first time.
No, because
It wasn't British.
it wasn't so much that it was, and I'm not.
Canadian. That's the problem.
Yeah. It was oddly too polite.
25-year-old guy dating a 16-year-old. So
Yeah. Well, one of the reasons why I didn't like it, and it's not the movie's fault, is because I went into the Malco.
we're not sponsored by them either.
No, the movie.
If anything, we sponsor them.
The movie we were gonna see was sold out.
So that's always a good mindset
Yeah.
going into a movie.
Yeah, well, we all wanted to see this other movie, and then Scott Pilgrim was playing.
Do you remember what movie?
I never went back and saw it.
Was it sold out?
The movie sold out?
Yes.
Yeah, I just told you. It was sold out.
Right. So I mean, they had what 5 parts to the comics,
Yes.
Yeah.
Every book was a girlfriend.
right?
And it wasn't until the second book that it was called Scott Pilgrim versus the World. I can't remember what the first title was, but
And a sad, depressing life or something like that.
Right. And when they started working on the movie, they hadn't finished the books yet, right?
that's a
That's what I had heard. So I had some
That's a
friends who
good
were
question.
big fans of the comics, and they were still in development. And
That's
that's actually, I don't want to spoil anything, but the ending of the movie is different than the comic books because of that, because they wrote the ending of the movie before the comics were finished, and they actually had a different ending. But then the comic came out, and they decided to try to change it and make it more like the comics. And I think some of my friends had a problem with the movie because they felt that disconnect, that it built up to a different ending and then kind of twisted it on people. But I thought that it worked out pretty well.
yeah. Well, the ways that comics have so many different universes and everything, like I can look past it. So
It's frustrating at times.
So let's talk a little bit more about these movies that you and your cousins made.
a lot of them were rips off
thought I
other
forgot about
movies.
I forgot about it too.
We did a go-kart race because our grandparents were really cool and got us go-karts.
Cool or irresponsible?
Cool. We were irresponsible because their house was right behind a big field, but part of that big field was connected to the elementary school. And so we would go ride around in the backyard of the elementary school, and the teachers would get mad at us. But that's besides the point. But a lot of the things that we did were, like, we made a rip off of Not Another Teen Movie.
You made a rip
Is
off a
this-
spoof.
Yeah.
Isn't that a rip off of
all the movies were spoofs of
spoofs?
spoofs. I'm
No, I said
No,
like
no,
a spoof.
not
It's
a-
a spoof.
Oh,
of a
yeah,
spoof.
it's a spoof of a spoof,
Not
yeah.
another teen movies.
Doesn't that
Yeah,
just
it was-
become
yeah.
the movie at that point?
it was just them taking what they liked and making it in the movies, and I just got roped into it because I wanted to be a part of the family.
So I mean,
Don't forget about me.
so my kind of foray into movie making is probably, I mean, it's close. It's different. What got me wanting to make movies, of all things, is Saving Private Ryan. And not so much. I think it was the publicity surrounding Steven Spielberg at the time, because I think he won Best Director that year.
For that movie? Yeah.
Yeah. But they kept talking about the kind of movies he would make as a kid, and there was one thing that just stuck in my mind about he would make war movies as a child, and the way he would do the special effects is he would create basically a seesaw out in the grass and put dirt on one end, and you'd have the 2x4 kind of sticking up, and so you'd have his actors run across the field and step on the 2x4, and the dirt clod would fly in the air and make it look like a bomb, which I was like, oh, that sounds awesome. And so we had a VHS tape. Took my brother outside, just made him do all sorts of redonkulous stuff. And then probably the second thing was I was living in Texas at the time, and so Walker Texas Ranger was really huge. And so we had cowboy hats and cowboy boots because we lived in Texas, and so I made my brother pretend to be Walker Texas Ranger. And the first time that I ever if you guys had a VHS camera, you have to do all your editing in camera, and so I got a perfect cut between him kicking down a door from the outside and then the cut on the door opening, and I was like, "This is pretty stinking movies." Yeah, and so it was like a 3-second scene of him knocking on a door and then kicking it in. I had 2 shots and they were cut perfectly, and I was like, I can make movies.
Done. Movie making. Here I come.
Where's my award?
So this is all at the same time. We had he was 97 years old. A neighbor.
Your brother?
No. That would be fun. But we had a neighbor who lived next door who was like 97, or he may have already been over 100. And I just kept thinking that guy had seen a lot, and we'd go over and talk to him, when we weren't terrified of old people. But you talk to him. I guess I was 12 probably at the time. And we talked to him, and he would tell war stories, and I was like, oh, I could write a movie, and put him in it. And and then Garth Brooks' last CD came out. I know this is really like an amalgamation of some really weird stuff.
This is everything about Texas.
Garth Brooks he's from Oklahoma.
Oops.
Yeah, I know, right? Way to know your country music, Joey. But Garth Brooks' last CD came out, and it was really weird. Like, I would try to write scenes for one whole movie using every song from that soundtrack as like the soundtrack for that song. And so he had a song that ends. This is really weird, but it's called Bellawood, I think is what it is. But it's about German and American soldiers who basically have a truce on Christmas Day, and they sing Silent Night. And there's probably a story somewhere about that. But like, I would try to fit all 12 of those songs into one movie, and I would write that movie in my head. It's really weird.
So make a movie soundtrack based on an already existing album.
Yeah.
Gotcha.
Was that the same truce where they shared blankets that had smallpox?
Gotcha.
Bad
Probably.
Christmas present, probably. I don't know. Garth Brooks didn't write that part into the song.
He forgot the smallpox?
He forgot about the smallpox.
Everybody forgets about smallpox.
I actually, when you were just saying that, I was trying to figure out how I got into wanting to make movies, and when you said something about you actually editing on tape, like on a tape camera, you have to edit like in the camera, and I actually did that. I got a like at the time it was not the best camera, but it was a pretty good camera for like home movies and stuff, and I got it for Christmas, and that's what I wanted to do. I wanted to like just make cool little short movies, and the first thing I ever did, I was probably about, 15 at the time. I set my camera up in my room and pointed it at my desk, and I recreated the Star Wars movies with paper backdrops that I colored with colored pencils and Lego pieces. And I thought it was the coolest thing ever. Looking back, it was very, very bad. Like, it was not good quality. And then I made skateboard videos with my brother, and I remember like having to look in the little eyepiece, because this was before like flip out viewfinders, look in the eyepiece and like rewind the tape to a certain point and play it until I wanted to cut, and then stop and then record whatever was next. And so like if you wanted to cut back to something, you either had to time it perfectly or you had to just do the same shot again. And so I did that for a while, and I don't think that's when I decided like this is what I want to do. Like, I just was having fun as a kid. But I remember watching, dang it, I remembered the movie in my head like a minute ago, but as I was telling that story, I forgot it. But I just remember
Very
like,
impactful movie.
it was.
Last year.
But after my freshman year of college, I was originally a music
Dolphin
major. It was a Dolphin Tale. It was Dolphin Tale 2, which hasn't come out yet.
That's how impactful it was.
No,
I feel like coming on.
Harry Connick Jr. Morgan Freeman.
My freshman
And
year of
Dolphin.
college, I was a music major. I was just like, this is gonna sound really lazy, but I was just like, this is too much work. I don't like this
So you
nearly.
got into filmmaking?
Yeah. Well, I just didn't like it nearly as much as I thought I did, and I didn't like it anywhere near enough to put in that much effort. Like, I was just like, I was doing it because that's what I'd done growing up, was playing. I played trumpet for 10 years, and so I thought, okay, more of the same. And I actually switched my major to radio and television. And at that point, I was like, okay, this is what I want to do. Like, I had fun doing this growing up. It was like a hobby, but
Sorry, I think I just hit the mic.
you're fine. I think.
We'll get in post.
Tell your story again.
But like growing up, it was just kind of fun to do, and it wasn't until I started getting, I guess, experience doing it that it wasn't really watching a movie that I was like, this is what I want to do. It was actually getting in there and helping. I think I helped with Breakdown.
Yeah, we're not going to talk about those movies.
Yeah, but I switched majors like a month before I helped with that movie, and like I helped with it, and I was like, this is awesome. Like, I want to do this.
Now,
Good
Blake,
times.
your story, probably a little bit different, but I mean, I think knowing you and knowing your family, like you guys get together a lot to watch different things and movies. I think I know you talk about hanging out with your mom and watching a different not mom meatloaf, but you and your family, you guys are together a lot, and
Right.
TV and movies are a big part of it.
My dad is the exception. He doesn't like to watch a whole lot of movies or TV. I mean, when I was little, I didn't even consider making movies a thing. I mean, I had several ideas of jobs that were just kind of fantasy jobs that just the select few get them, and
I want to be an astronaut.
right. I mean, they're ridiculous that you don't even think about it. And I mean, making movies was one of those. And honestly, it wasn't even one that I would aspire to. I just didn't think about it much. I actually first got interested in architecture, and I explored that for a while. And then I realized that physics and structures actually have to hold up. And I played a lot of video games too, and I would recognize that there's a lot of architecture in video games, and they're not bound by physics. And someone has to design all of these fantasy structures that are in video games, and they don't have to worry about where the plumbing goes. And so I kind of started getting back interested into designing in like 3D space. When I first went to college, I was in a class that kind of explored some animation, and this was before animation school. So it was just basics. It was actually primarily a Photoshop class, but then we started getting into it, and I had to make a 2-minute short, and I thought I would enjoy building the scenes and the characters and texturing them, and like creating that environment more, and then dread moving them in 3D space. The exact opposite became true. I was so eager to, like, once I started moving the objects around, I was so eager to get to that. I didn't care how good the models looked. I just wanted them to try to look lifelike. We talked about Pixar movies. I think Pixar's some of the best storytellers in the world. And I think, yes, it's great animation.
Except for Cars 2.
We don't talk about that.
It's still a story.
I think most of the guys here have differing opinions than I do on that. But
On Cars 2?
yeah,
I actually have never seen it, so I probably should.
I think Blake would say he enjoyed
who here has never seen it?
I've never seen Cars 2. I've seen the first one.
All right.
Have you seen it, Austin?
Mhm.
Okay. Have you seen it?
No.
Oh, you have a 2-year-old. Oh,
Really? You've been giving me
Okay,
so much crap about
blindsided.
Cars 2, and you
Cars
haven't
1
seen
is
it?
probably like top 3 favorite Pixar movies.
Oh, Cars is my least favorite of any
Really?
Pixar movie.
That's probably
What
the
about
least
Cars
favorite.
in general?
Yeah. Well, generally, I think Cars is the least favorite just because
Okay, but this is the premise
different.
of Cars 2, is that Larry the Cable Guy gets enlisted into the British Secret Service, right? Kind of.
Isn't that a Larry the Cable Guy movie?
I'm pretty sure that was like Health Inspector.
No, but isn't that what happens in Cars 2?
Yeah, that's about right.
Okay.
I also have very strange favorite Pixar movie. Like Bug's Life is also in the top 3.
Yeah,
Okay.
I like Bugs Life.
Ants is my favorite movie.
Blasphemy.
DreamWorks.
Anyway, yes. So I don't know. I kind of like to try to train myself to, when I'm watching an animated movie, take a step back and actually watch it for its story value. Try not to judge it for animation and visual effects, but just the story. And then I like to go back and watch it again and focus on how it's done. But yeah, it's hard for me to nail down a single movie of when I felt I want to make movies. Honestly, I haven't even thought about making movies until recently. It's been primarily, I don't know, just a lot of video games. There's a lot of animation video games I was interested in. But being a part of FlyDogs really got me thinking about it. So I don't know if there's any one particular movie that's really gotten me thinking about it more. But I've definitely started analyzing movies more in that mindset.
And if you get a chance, be sure to check out Bubbles Yes, because
Right. So the 2-minute short that I mentioned earlier, Bubbles Yes.
it's a great cinematic experience. We love
I
it.
knew nothing at the time.
We love it though.
Okay, really quick. Cars, the problem with it is just a ripoff of a Michael J. Fox movie from 1988 called Doc Hollywood. That's all it
Pocahontas is a ripoff of Dances with Wolves.
And Native American stories.
It's just inaccurate.
The Lion King?
as far as that goes.
Hamlet.
And Kimba the White Lion
Yeah.
is
Alright.
Simba.
Real quick, top 3 Pixar movies. Go.
Top 3 Pixar movies. Toy Story.
One.
I'm just gonna say Toy Story.
It's like, are you Quentin Tarantinoing all of Toy Story together?
That's how
I can't separate
Back
it.
to the Future.
Toy Story 2 is my least favorite of the 3. But anyway, after that, Incredibles. After that, Up.
I love Toy Story 3.
Toy Story 3 is
Because-
just too sad.
At least with like Joey and I, we're the same age, and when Toy Story 3 came out, like Andy was the same age as us.
That's true.
And watching the movie and go back and like, oh, I remember playing with my toys and acting like they were real, and then having to say goodbye to them. And
I
Yeah,
didn't have dolls. Let the record show that.
we had action figures.
he was only 1 year older than me, so I couldn't connect to him.
Good.
Nah, this guy's
He's
22.
our connection. Don't steal it from us.
My mom. Just a side note. Whenever I've only heard my mom cry, and I've only heard her twice. And both times we're on the phone. Lion King came out in 3D. Apparently, that was the first movie I saw in theaters. My mom called me and was like, "This is the first movie you ever saw, and I was gonna watch Lion King 3D with you, but now I can't because you're in college." And it was just very strange. And the other one was Toy Story 3 because it like followed the whole progression of Andy. Like we were about the same age, so it was kind of a strange thing.
Top 3.
Favorite three Pixar movies: The Incredibles, Bugs Life, and Cars.
All right, you got one correctly.
The Incredibles.
Yeah.
Toy Story 3 is my favorite Pixar movie, but you have to have seen the other ones. I mean,
Mhm.
you can't just
You
dive
can
in.
take Toy Story as an amalgam.
Yeah. Well, Toy Story 2 is terrible.
What? Toy Story 2 just was not as...
All right, here's the thing. Just comparing Pixar to DreamWorks.
Well,
DreamWorks.
Well, that's a different podcast topic.
No, I'll make it fast. DreamWorks makes a lot of references, pop culture references, which is fine. It's a different kind of humor. Some people like it more.
I like it.
Those people like it more.
Hoodwinked is one of my favorite movies.
Pixar is its own thing. Like you don't have to know what's popular in the culture. It doesn't make a lot of references to things. It's self-contained. Yeah.
Except Toy Story 2.
Toy Story 2 is completely different. It made tons of references, and
It's got the scene with Jesse getting left, and that's like the best scene in the movie.
have you seen Toy Story 3?
Yes.
Are you sure?
Toy Story 3 is way better than that scene.
No, I liked it, but that scene is good.
Oh, it's
Sarah
good.
That's fine.
McLachlan singing
Okay.
"When You Loved Me."
I may have used the word terrible earlier,
You did use the word terrible.
and that is in reference to Pixar movies within that context. I love every Pixar movie that's
Toy
ever
Story
been
2
made.
is infinitely better than like Brave or Cars 2.
I loved Brave. Okay, I love
You
a
haven't
lot of
seen
movies.
Cars 2.
I just have a gut
Touche.
feeling.
Hunter, you
Gut
should
feeling.
go watch Cars 2 today, and I want to hear your thoughts on it.
And Brave, the mom
Did
turns
you not
into a
like-
bear.
Okay,
Like,
that's a little strange, but
It was pretty though.
it did look really good.
did you say your other two?
I did not.
You cut them off.
Monsters Inc.
Yes.
Oh,
That's
I
a
forgot
good
about
one.
Correct.
And I don't know. They're all so good. So Toy Story 3, Monsters Inc. 1, not the prequel.
Yeah.
Did you not like the prequel?
I enjoyed it. It's not
I
as
did.
good as
It's
the
not
first.
good.
I don't know. Maybe
I will allow Up or
Wall-E?
Nemo or Wally.
Ooh.
Wall-E
There's just
can
so
make
many
you
good
cry.
Yeah.
Pixar movies that, like, honestly, when I pick a top 3, half the time it's just like, which ones can I think
What
of
just
first?
came out?
I
What
feel
have
like
seen
Wall-E
recently?
had a lot of story that had to be discovered. Like you had to actually watch and pay attention, or else you miss it.
And if you're a Republican, you probably didn't like it.
We are not endorsed by the Democratic Party.
What are your favorite Pixar movies?
Nemo,
That's not even a movie.
probably Up, and then I could go between probably The Incredibles or Monsters Inc.
Right.
Incredibles.
Okay, so that sound means it's Nerd Alert time.
That's me.
We're gonna take a look into your weekly dose of comic book.
Newsery.
I need to figure out a better way to intro that segment.
Comic book movies and TV.
Yes.
'Cause I think we should include TV
Yeah, you
because there's some
do.
pretty good comic
'Cause
book
that's
TV
where
shows
DC
out.
has a
Hey,
gold
we
right
talked
now.
about The Incredibles. They're superheroes. You know where else superheroes are found? Comic books.
We talked about comic books too.
There, I did
Scott
it.
Pilgrim.
All right, so I would say probably the biggest news this week is the new teaser trailer for Avengers: Age of Ultron.
Mm-hmm.
So before we talk about it, like anybody on the internet hasn't seen it, here is the trailer.
Are we watching it now?
Yes.
All I see
I'm
is
assuming everyone saw it.
Yeah.
Lens flares.
I'm gonna cut all this out.
all I see is
Lens flares.
donut box.
More
There's actually
lens
been people who haven't seen it. Like I'll say, "Have you seen it?" Like, no.
flares. Blake can't see it.
For mercy.
Hey, since we're cutting this out, Joey, I popped my neck earlier and it was really loud. And then Blake looked over at me and he goes, I go, did you hear that?
Strange.
God, it's so creepy.
I do like that they added this.
Mhm.
It's really creepy. Is this from the movie or is this like redone? Well, I know it's.
Yeah, it's from the. I think.
No, they redid it.
That's what I meant. I didn't know if they took it from Pinocchio or they made a new version of it.
I actually didn't hear it at all the first time. Everyone kept talking about the
Yeah.
Pinocchio song, and I'm like,
It's the end. The end of the path I started us on.
Nothing lasts forever.
Hulkbuster.
Got to put on that suit to put on the suit.
Helmet over your helmet.
Yeah.
Quicksilver. I should have made a list of things that are going on in here.
I got it.
I watched the IGN rerun trailer.
I've read so many articles on this.
I'm gonna come out of it. I'm gonna say some stuff. You guys can yell at me.
Okay.
Are you gonna say
Hold all
Joe?
comments until after Hunter gets done with his spiel.
The first role I saw James Spader in was the Office
Yeah.
boss. So now I can't.
Robert California.
I don't know what to think of him.
Okay, so here's my thing with that. And I will probably say, out of the group of us, I'm the least informed comic book
Aficionado.
aficionado.
Probably
yes.
true.
I would not describe you as a comic book aficionado.
I am a casual superhero fan who enjoys most comic book movies. Can't actually name one that I hate.
Green Lantern.
Daredevil.
Oh, Daredevil.
No, I like Daredevil.
Electra.
You like
Elektra.
Daredevil?
Have you seen
I
Elektra?
haven't seen
Yeah.
Elektra.
Well,
No, we argued over one comic book movie that I did not like.
Superman.
I don't know.
No, I did not like Superman.
Yeah, I
Man
think
of Steel.
within the
You
context of when Daredevil came out, that
Yeah.
it was fine. It had its merits.
If it came out today,
Well, I mean,
Right,
we
if it
had
came out
discussion about
today-
Man of Steel, but it's understood you either hate or you like Man of Steel. But I don't think
Yeah.
it was that one.
No, we had it with like there was a heated
it Cap?
discussion. Oh, it's Amazing Spider-Man 2. I hate
Oh,
that.
yeah,
I hated
yeah.
that.
nine.
Yeah.
Okay, so but back to that. I am not this, but here's the questions I have for you guys. One, this movie does not come out for 9 months, and this is a 2-minute teaser trailer.
Mm-hmm.
Are we getting to a point where, because you guys know everything that's coming up, like you're giving too much information away? And then number 2, and then I will let the group discuss.
Wait, on that one, are you saying that's too long or too short? Like,
there's a lot of we're gonna get like 4 more trailers before this movie comes out.
If you know comic book like storylines, then seeing Ultron, and seeing like the Hulkbuster suit kind of gives away storylines.
But are you saying that
to comic book people?
Yeah, but are you saying the trailer should be closer to the we shouldn't see anything?
I don't know. I'm just saying
until
it's
closer
9
to
months out, and okay. Second thing, and we'll talk about this in a second. Joss Whedon is the director of this movie, and this movie looks like the most serious, angry, depressing movie ever. And I can't imagine that it will end up being that way. Correct? Because the first part, I think one of the reasons that made the Avengers made so much money and was so successful is because it was so funny and so took itself not seriously.
I mean, there are definitely serious parts, but
Well, James Spader was interviewed after this trailer, and one of the questions was, "This looks dark. Is it going to be like that for the entire way?" He said, "No, there will be some funny parts with it, and actually funny parts with Ultron, because Ultron is created in this storyline by Iron Man. In the comics, he's always been created by Ant-Man, but that movie hasn't been introduced yet until 2016, 15." But Ultron is created basically as a way for the superheroes to take vacation. He is programmed to defend good and to destroy evil. And in the article, James Spader said there's you go through the growing up period of Ultron where he's learning all these things and just kind of learning the world, because he starts off as a new creation, but he has the ability to think. And so he said there's going to be some funny parts that come through that. And even just from what people have said from the teaser from Comic-Con, which there's a lot of scenes from that we haven't seen yet, there was more humor in those. So I think this one's going to be definitely more darker than the first one, but...
More darker.
Oh, it's going to be more dark than the first one. But they're still going to have the classic Marvel elements that we see in the majority of movies.
Strike's backing it.
I would imagine, because I read
That's a perfect sequel, so...
I read an interview. That's just a big statement. I agree, but it's just a big statement. I read an interview with Joss Whedon after the first Avengers, and he was not entirely, I think, the interview made it sound like he could have done better in his own, which, I mean, it's a very well rated movie.
$1 billion
movie. Probably the more important part.
I don't know anybody who didn't like the Avengers.
And the interview that I read with Joss Whedon made it sound like that was one of his concerns, is that he didn't make it serious enough.
Because what we need is more serious movies about the destruction of the world.
So to answer your first question,
well, it's kind of a serious thing.
Yeah,
we're getting to where you get a 2-minute movie, 9 months before, or 2-minute trailer 9 months before the movie comes out. I think even with the number of comic book fans there are out there that know the storyline already, it's not going to ruin anything for those who don't, and those who do know the storyline. It's something that you can look forward to how they flesh it out. So I think I went with Tyler to see Winter Soldier when that came out.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And spoiler alert, when you find out who the Winter Soldier is, comic book fans know that already. That's been the storyline for a long time. I don't know when the Winter Soldier was premiered, but everyone knew who it was, if you knew the comics and stuff. But even in the theater, whenever you found out who he was, the entire theater gasped. You could hear it over the movie.
And this was the opening night crowd.
Yes,
right?
this was midnight premiere.
Wednesday night crew. The movie showed at Wednesday 8 o'clock. No, I'm pretty sure it was Wednesday 8 o'clock for that movie.
Maybe, but
either way, when they did
the first showing, so you would assume that comic book fans would be out in mass, but it was enough people there who were looking forward to the movie without knowing the storyline that they were genuinely shocked when they find out who the Winter Soldier actually is.
Yeah. And even with seeing some of these things, as a fan, I'm like, holy crap, the Hulkbuster suit, great, we get to see it. Like with this trailer, they showed us a lot of things that I'm sure people have been waiting for and heard rumors of, and now they're confirmed. But there's also still a lot of questions for comic book fans, and almost this whole trailer could be completely confusing for someone who just got into the Avengers because they watched the first movie. Because there's even questions that I have that are stuff from the trailer. But I think a lot of it is we're just getting to see it. And I think that's what the trailer is for. It's like, oh, here's what's coming. And for me, it didn't feel like they're spoiling too much because there's still a lot to come that we don't know yet.
I just feel like with the amount of information that's out there, like no one waits for a story or a surprise anymore.
I think that there's
like
still
female Robin, like that's already out there.
Well,
Batman versus
that's also
That's been there for years.
That's because people who know the Batman versus Superman story that they're basing it off of know that.
But I'm just mean like there's not spoilers in the sense of I don't want to know anything about a movie, but we don't wait for a story more. Like I want to show you guys something. To me, and this is just the Warner Bros. This is depressing. Like the fact that like all these things are planned out. Like, are we not at a point of like, you guys can kill me, but oversaturation?
I think we're getting there. But I was talking to you yesterday, I think, about this trailer and just that that I think we're getting to a point where it's like the whole like superhero team up thing is kind of getting, because I think Austin, you said that Guardians of the Galaxy has been rumored to like be in one of the Avengers type movies, because I mean it's the same universe, and so like it's kind of gotten to a point where like whenever the first Iron Man came out and you saw, I think it was the first Iron Man, it might have been the second one, you saw Thor's hammer at the end of it, that everyone was like, oh my goodness, that's so awesome. And it was just like his hammer. So
well, I told you that I think what they're going to start doing is stop doing Iron Man, Thor, Captain America stories, do Avengers stories, and then start maybe every 5 years start focusing on a different, like that's what they're doing with Avengers. And I think Guardians of the Galaxy. And I mean, I don't know what other groups there are.
Yeah,
I mean, there's some specific heroes that they haven't done yet.
Yeah.
Like,
well, the way that it's
Black Panther.
They've talked how the Avengers is going to start happening, especially with 3, without spoiling too much, is they're going to be introducing new heroes in the 3rd movie that aren't the original. Like a lot of the original Avengers won't be in the 3rd one, for what people are saying, because of the events that happened in 2.
Gotcha.
But also, another big thing that happened last week before this trailer came out was, because a lot of people were speculating about Iron Man 4, and Robert Downey Jr. said, oh, I'm still going to be Iron Man, and people took that as a movie, but what it turned out to be was he is now going to be in Captain America 3, which is actually going to lead into the Civil War story. So kind of going back to what Austin's saying about like all these multiple heroes in movies, that's kind of what they're doing. They're going into the bigger storyline that incorporates all these characters instead of just making, oh, here's another individual movie for Iron Man, here's another individual movie for Thor. They're telling the stories of them being together, which does happen a lot in the comics. And even in the individual issues, there's a lot of crossing over of heroes. But another thing that people are speculating is an event called the Secret War that could branch off of this, which is where a bunch of heroes got transported to a world called Battle World and were forced to fight. And what people are saying that story is, nowadays, people who don't know, it's basically Hunger Games with superheroes.
But that came before the Hunger Games.
Right.
That was actually, fun fact, the first comic book I ever read was Secret Wars Volume 1.
So if they ever get X-Men back, Jennifer Lawrence could be in another Hunger Games besides the Hunger Games.
Yes, but as Mystique.
All right, now that we got that cleared up, it's time to move on to what's up this week. I'll figure out a different name for that. What's up this week?
Dingo and the baby.
Okay, so real quick, I know only 3 of us can discuss this, and you've got to discuss it in a way that does not reveal anything.
The movie's awesome.
the biggest movie out right now is Gone Girl. It's made $113 million, which is actually not that big compared to the stupid superhero movie. So thank you, nerds, the nerds for controlling the box office and making $113 million not seem that big of a deal. But only 3 of us have seen it. Austin, your takes on Gone Girl?
It's one of the fewest movies that I've watched that combined the fact that I still think about it, not in like a Gone Girl, like that kind of weird way.
But Gone Girl.
Yeah. It also, I don't want to sound, there's nothing in it that didn't seem not doable, if that makes sense. Other than the fact that it had great acting and great.
Other than the fact that it was written greatly, directed greatly, and
besides,
but it's all things we could attain
very well. Sorry.
Technically speaking, if on that set, I think I would have known how to help and how to stay out of the way. Like on the set of Avengers, if I was like the coffee guy, everything would be green, and I'll be walking around in the middle of the shot with my cup of coffee, trying to find the director.
So what you're saying, it was a nice adult. Way to spill your coffee.
I didn't spill. I dropped the lid.
What you're saying is it's a nice adult movie. There were no special effects that we knew of in that movie. What, Blake?
I feel like you're still insulting.
Oh, an adult movie?
Yes, it's not.
Oh.
Sorry, not that kind of adult. Well,
mature.
It's a.
Can I say mature?
It's a nice movie. Grown up. Let's say grown up.
Professional.
Grown up movie.
It's a grown up movie. There's no superheroes.
It's a big boy movie.
Although I will say Ben Affleck looks like Batman in the movie.
Yeah.
He got bigger throughout the whole movie. Like,
did he murder like Batman?
As you watch it, he gets more and more jacked.
If you mean by it, he didn't, then maybe
he's
not.
definitely training for Batman.
All right, Joey, your thoughts?
I definitely. I don't think my brain's wrapped around it completely. Like, it's just one of those movies that, not that makes you think like Shutter Island makes you think, but you're just like, I don't know. It tells the story well, and I think the story is very compelling, if that makes sense. And that sounds kind of boring, like.
See, I always describe it as the best Lifetime movie you'll ever watch, which is true, but it's a really good Lifetime movie.
Yeah,
it would be. Yeah,
it's something that like
I don't want to talk about it too much.
I don't know. Yeah, it's hard to talk about it without
talking about it.
Yeah, without talking about it. But I think everybody should. Well, I think
everybody should watch it.
Yeah, I don't know. I don't know if I want to.
I'll just say Fincher is like if you can take that, and not that I haven't read the book, and not that the premise itself is too crazy, but I mean, well,
if you've seen any other Fincher movie and it moderately enjoyed it, Gone Girl is
he
definitely
is a master at work, and I don't mean that in a silly cliche way.
Also had great people making their commercials.
That
cat. Okay, I would say that is a way to do a teaser trailer.
Yeah, like
you have no clue what that movie is about going in, or they purposely make you think you know what the movie's about, and it's a totally different movie.
Yeah,
but in a good way.
All right, so coming up, guys,
great way.
Christopher Nolan. I would assume we're all fans, but you guys probably aren't fans of his stuff outside of
Memento.
Batman.
Oh yeah, no.
Okay. Am I not giving you guys enough credit?
You're not getting us enough credit.
Wait, what?
The Prestige is a great movie.
What else has Nolan done?
The Prestige.
Oh, I like that movie.
A little movie
Inception.
called Inception, Memento.
I never. Okay, fun fact. Never finished Inception. Saw until the last 15 minutes of it.
It's okay. The last 15 or the first 15.
I was on a bus going to Mobile for a marching band trip. This was like 3 years ago. And we got to the hotel with 15 minutes left of the movie, and they just turned it off. And I was like, I gotta watch this, but
Joey,
I think it gets compelling after that.
And go watch Inception. Just leave right now. All right, Interstellar comes out next Friday. The last trailer came out. Here we go.
What are you going to do with it?
Give it something socially responsible to do.
Is this Superman?
Mm-hmm.
That thing needs to run out of damn birth. Okay, let's mask up. Like the rest of us.
The Mist 2.
spoils of treasure. It's been telling us to leave for a while now. Your daughter's generation will be the last to survive on Earth.
Go get a tangerine.
You're the best pilot.
That's better.
Get out there and save the world.
Get out there, Mr. Wang.
Are you ready to say goodbye to our solar system? To our galaxy. Here we go. We're here. Want to get down fast, don't we?
Actually, we want to get there in one piece.
Hang on.
What?
Was that?
Lens flares.
That looked like a Masingo.
They look like Minecraft legs.
Yeah.
It does not work, but the people on Earth are dead by the time we pull it off.
Whoa. What's going on there?
Farther than any human in history.
Well, not far enough.
I like it.
Is that Anne Hathaway
That's what I was about to say.
with short hair?
She's supposedly really difficult to work with.
No way.
That's the Princess Diaries fault.
Yes, you are. Yes, you are.
Whoa. So this is Gravity 2. Less gravity.
Human race.
We'll find a way. We always have.
Mud meets gravity.
All right.
Hans Zimmer. I used to watch. Okay, before I watched movies because who directed them and who was in them, I watched movies because who did the score.
It's an interesting way to look at life.
So one of the things I love about Christopher Nolan is that you never know what he's going to show you. I would think in a good way. I mean, Inception was completely original, and I guess I'm really excited that Interstellar is going to be something. I mean, I can't imagine that we're getting the whole story from his trailers, which is something I actually appreciate.
So they're based on the trailer. They're looking for like
What?
another planet.
You just make it sound like we don't appreciate not knowing the story.
Well, you guys read all the books before they ever come out of your favorite movie.
I'm sorry, I read.
Well,
I don't read.
I know we're off comic books, but I think Tyler hit on it. The thing that good comic book based movies do is they let the people who are doing the movie a little creative leeway. Like they don't have to stick to.
But then the nerds unite and kill the director when he deviates.
That's not true. I'm trying to think of an example that would back me up, and the only one I can think of is
Have you ever seen video from Comic-Con?
like Dark
Those
Knight
people
Rises.
are crazy.
Yeah.
Dark Knight Rises.
Dark Knight Rises.
So that's like the right wing
Yeah.
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 of the nerd faction.
Or
Whoa.
the liberal. Oh, whatever they do is okay.
That's
They just covered up with, oh, this isn't the right. This is a different universe. There's another story.
That's
It's
really
different
how they-
interpretation.
That's how they
Yeah.
covered it.
Anyway, Interstellar. I think I told one of us at this table that I was afraid of the Earth to space exploration ratio of story-wise in the movie, because with that it shows a little bit more. But I was afraid like it was going to be like on Earth the whole time, and then they're like,
Man, it kind of just
10
pops up 30 years
or-
later.
yeah, or like last 10 minutes they're in space.
Right. The first teaser didn't show very much of the interstellar part.
No. So now it looks like it might be at least half and half, but probably if you watch the movie, they're not going to be on Earth very long at all, and that's probably.
Do you think
I
that's
wouldn't
a
be
good thing?
surprised. I wouldn't be surprised if that happens. Is that a good thing? I don't know. There you go.
Depends on
Do you
how
think
they
it'll
tell
be
the
a lot
story.
of
Yeah.
flashbacks?
Maybe might be like Lost in Space.
I think they I think Jessica Chastain's playing his older daughter later, so I think it's like a cryogenic, right?
Cryogenic.
Cryogenic. There we
Yeah.
go.
Because you wouldn't cast her
Situation.
for just like her meeting her dad again later.
I think it's he goes to space, he's in space, and he comes back.
And he's old.
No, because he didn't
Oh.
age because of the
Oh, she's
cry-
old.
Yeah.
God,
Gotcha.
got
cryo.
frozen.
He got frozen.
Yeah.
Got froze.
All right, so 2 more weeks for that. All right, really quick as we end, Halloween movie picks. Your favorite scary movie? Go.
So my favorite Halloween movie or scary movie is kind of strange, and I have to explain it when I tell you the title. It's called House of the Devil, but it's not about like demons and stuff. So Reasons I like it: there's no cussing that I can remember, which means if there was, it was very, very little, maybe like one time, and then no nudity at all, which I think is kind of lost in the horror movie genre now. Like with things like Saw and you know, I don't know. Pretty much every horror movie nowadays has some sort of nudity in it because they're like, oh, they're dying, they must be naked. So those two things are not in it. It came out in 2009, but it was shot to look like an 80s movie. What?
I said you go out the way you came in, naked and afraid.
It was released in 2009, but it was shot like an 80s movie, so it kind of has that like period piece thing going for it, and it's really well done, and it's more suspense than like gory horror. I think one person dies, so.
I don't really watch scary movies. The last one that I saw was Insidious, and I didn't watch most of it until like he went into the spirit plane and found the
Spoilers.
the demon with like goat legs, and after that I just laughed the
I'm
rest
not
of the
watching
time.
it.
So
If you made Insidious, I still love you, but
I mean I'm not a fan of this. Is not my forte. Those scary movies.
What is the Stephen King movie about the author who gets...
Misery.
Can that be considered horror?
Yeah, because mine's not going to be horror.
I would consider that to be it, or The Omen, the older one.
I'm imagining Hunter's favorite movie is Hocus Pocus.
Boy, oh, toil and trouble.
Mine
Midler.
would be The Last Airbender.
That's pretty scary.
Because it was just scary.
It's just terrifying. My
it was.
goodness.
M. Night, man.
He has better movies than that, for sure.
M. Night has better
Night.
movies than that.
Okay, so my favorite, I guess it is
Better
considered.
reason than that.
I guess it is considered horror. Is the only horror picture to win Best Picture, and it would be my recommendation for your Halloween viewing. Is The Silence of the Lambs. Me and Austin just recently rewatched it, and just the way that Jonathan Demme uses camera angles and camera shots and close-ups to convey power in a scene. Anthony Hopkins doing his whole Hannibal Lecter bit, Jodie Foster being awesome. The way that they never let you know too much, I think, was one of the things we were talking about that was just really, really cool. And it's definitely pretty scary still, 25 years later.
Yeah. It's not scary in a...
But it's not Saw.
In a jumpy way.
in a jumpy way, which it's hard. It's hard to find movies that I think that scare you in
It scares you in your mind hole.
In a real way.
in a jumpy way. Yeah, I mean, if someone closes the door too loud, I'm gonna jump, but it's not. I'm not considered the day to be scary, but it does.
Those doors, man. Those are the scariest things.
It does freak you out to the point that you get scared, and it's a pretty good movie. I would give it an Oscar. 10 out of 10.
And with that, that's the end of FlyDog FlyTalk for this week. Thanks for listening, guys. We'll see you next time when we talk about new TV shows that we like.
You want to do social media plugs?
Yeah, you can follow us online at FlyDog Productions, Twitter, at FlyDog Prod.
Yep.
Had to be shorter, and then YouTube and Facebook as well.
Not
So-
Instagram.
We don't gram.
Not Instagram.
We're not grammars yet.
I have the Vine account, but I'm saving it. I'm gonna sell it to you when we
Wait,
get big.
for real? Wait,
No.
we were Vine account.
All right, thanks, guys, for listening. We'll see you next week where we talk about new TV shows, including probably some of the superhero ones, and we'll talk about Tyler's worst ever Halloween date.